What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to Monster Breakdown. Now, for all who don't know the series here on the channel, we break down monsters we face in Monster Hunter World to help you understand and beat said monster on a consistent basis solo. Now, today's target is the eater of all things, especially tainted meat, Deviljho. So, let's begin. Since Monster Hunter tried, Deviljho has bullied his way into your hunt to devour you and your target. There's been different subspecies of this devourer of monsters like Savage Joe and the uber pissed off version of Joe, Apex. Now, one thing rings true of all versions of Deviljho is he's a hyper aggressive brute wyvern that stops at nothing to eat you. Be comfortable. Now, what I mean by this is be sure to use a weapon you're comfortable with. Now, Deviljho will push you to be precise and swift with your attack, and when he enrages, he will punish you if you mess up. Be sure to stay cool as a cucumber, and eventually you'll get comfortable enough to where you can be hyper aggressive along with him. The ROCKSTEADY mantle can be a huge help, not just for his defense boost, but because of the negation of flinch and tremor. But be warned, do not use this as a crutch when fighting against Tempered Joe. Tempered Joe will still kill you with ease, but ROCKSTEADY can be tremendously helpful to a player who knows the fight. Use flashbangs instead of dung bombs. When you get pinned, we've gotten accustomed to using dung to get ourselves out of this sticky situation, but in World, flashbangs work better. Try FELYNE MOXIE or Guts. This is a little more important for Tempered Joe. You can eat for FELYNE MOXIE to save your ass once. You can also use Guts from the Basil set bonus, which also might help. And the final tip I have for you guys, if you plan on taking Joe on, whether he's tempered or regular, solo, equip the Rattlebond hammer for your Palico. For you guys who do not know, the Rattlebond weapons apply the sleep status, and with my Palico using it, I was able to put Joe to sleep 2 to 3 times on average in a solo hunt. That is kind of big. Pair that with mega large bombs, or a greatsword true charge slash, or even a gun lance's wyvern fire. That is nice damage. His Dragon Breath in previous installments have been a little easier to dodge, but in World it's been adjusted to be more like a cloud. Now, I mention this because it is a little harder to dodge because it lingers, so timing is crucial. As far as Tails, watch for him to take a quick step either forward or backwards, and then he will lift his head up and spew Dragon Breath from the right to the left. If you are comfortable with your dodge and rolling skills, you can roll right through this one. If not, run away. And if you're too close to him, always run towards his legs and you shall be safe. Beginning with his standing stomp, this is probably his most annoying move he has. This move can be hard to react to sometimes, but if you need to, you can gem in tremor resistance if you feel need to. I personally try to stay at his head most of the time when using the glaive and the greatsword. Block if your weapon allows it, or just play to the outside of his legs so you can roll and dodge out if you're given the chance. The jumping version of the stomp isn't all that hard to dodge, but normally starts with a growl and then him kind of spreading his legs and leaping towards his target. Now, all stomps can knock you down and pin you there for 5 to 6 seconds. Joe will then grab you in his mouth and do some dirty little things to you. To avoid this, we used to use dung bombs like I mentioned before, but in Monster Hunter World it does not seem to work as efficiently, so be ready to flashbang him. His TAILSPIN is kind of a pain in the ass sometimes. There's very little wind up to this move, and his tail is huge, and it becomes hard to avoid at times. His head and legs have a hitbox, but it will only cause you to flinch. To avoid this, try rolling through the attack or rolling underneath his chest. The Retaliation lunge. Now, typically doing enough damage in a burst would normally cause a monster to flinch, but Joe doesn't flinch often. Instead, he gets pissed off and counterattacks. This move can catch people off guard and can lead to some frustration. I do have a tip for you, but it is risky, and if you practice this on regular Joe and you get used to the timing, it can lead to some nice damage. Joe has several moves which he uses his chin as a weapon, so I'm going to cover them all together. His chin dive is typically the easiest one to avoid, but it's also the most damaging of the moves he uses with his chin. Now, he lifts his head up high and slams down. Roll away when you notice him pulling his head up and prepare to roll back after he smashes the ground for free damage on the face. He also might jump or leap towards his target to do this, but I've only seen that in rare cases. His shin drag is a little harder to dodge because it's normally fast and isn't much of a tell or wind up to it. Quick mention, there is a time where I evaded through it and was affected by a tremor, but unfortunately I could not recreate this instance, so I have to bring it up. Now the rock throw is one of his range attacks other than the dragon breath. Normally he digs his chin into the ground to his right side and then flings a huge boulder at you. To be honest, I haven't seen this too often, but I have noticed when you try to get some distance between you and him to heal, he will use this instead, so you are never safe. His hip check is another one of those moves that are more annoying than anything. He steps to the side and then lunges sideways. The problem with this move is his whole body can hit you and the hitbox lingers as well. What I mean by this is a second or two after the animation ends, it can still hit you. It's happened to me a few times and I've learned the best way to avoid this is to roll or dodge into it at the last possible second. His mouth charge or his chin swing is his infamous move from when he first was introduced into the series. He can do this up to 4 times and it ends with a chin drag. I've noticed it doesn't always end with a drag, but I've seen it, so I must mention it. You can normally avoid this by staying close and rolling towards his back legs. If you find yourself in front of him when he starts, try to run away and panic dive. If that doesn't work, you can always run away from him with your camera looking at him and time your dodge in between the swings to roll towards the middle of his legs. I mentioned the panic dive, but be cautious because you can still get hit after the invincibility frames end if Joe decides to do this 4 to 5 times. So that is Deviljho in a nutshell. I hope I was able to help you guys better understand how to take down this monster, because he's a monster basically. He is one of the toughest opponents you will fight, and they released a tempered version of him. So guys, have at it, have fun. If it's helped, hit the like button down below. Subscribe if you want to keep up to date, and I'll talk to you ladies and gents next time. Peace out.